You remember things that never happened, logos, quotes, even lives that ended in another world. Millions share the same impossible memories. This is the chilling mystery called the Mandela Effect. You remember something, clearly, vividly. It's not a guess, it's a memory. A memory you'd stake your life on. But then you check, and it's wrong. Not slightly off, not a typo. Completely, undeniably wrong. But here's a twist. You're not alone. Thousands, sometimes millions of people remember it the same way you do. The same exact memory, the same exact mistake, the same impossible truth. So what's going on? Are we all misremembering the same thing? Or is the fabric of reality changing? This is the Mandela Effect. Named after Nelson Mandela, because some people swear he died in prison in the 1980s. They remember news reports, televised funerals, emotional speeches, but none of it happened. Mandela lived until 2013. The word says one thing, our memories say another. So which is real? What if it's not just your brain playing tricks? What if something is rewriting our reality? Logos change, quotes disappear. Entire events get erased like a bad save file. But why? Glitch in the simulation, accidental timeline shift, or a warning. Something telling us we are in a copy of the world we thought was real. Tonight we're opening the archive. The one the internet doesn't want you to read. The one your own brain wants to forget. The Mandela Effect isn't just a trend. It's a crack. And if you look close enough, you will see what's trying to crawl through. In the late 1980s, people cried over their TVs. They remember the footage clearly. A sober announcer, a black and white photo of Nelson Mandela framed in a golden border, flags at half-mast, a televised funeral, crowds sobbing in the streets. Some remember Oprah covering it, others remember a school assembly held in his honor. Some say they even wrote reports about his death, but Nelson Mandela didn't die in the 1890s. He was released from prison in 1990. He went on to become president of South Africa in 1994. He lived until December 5th, 2013. And yet, people remember it, thousands of them, across countries, continents, cultures. All recalling the same impossible thing. It's not just a few confused fans. There are forums, old message boards, early YouTube clips. People saying, wait, didn't he die? Am I going crazy? That's when it got a name, the Mandela Effect. Coined by paranormal researcher Fiona Bloom, who realized she wasn't alone. She remembered Mandela dying in prison. She even remembered watching the funeral on TV. But that event never happened. So what does that mean? Let's break the possibilities. Option 1. Collective false memory. The brain filling in blanks. A rumor repeated so many times it starts to feel true. But it doesn't explain the specificity, the identical memories, the same details shared by people who never met. Option 2. Something more terrifying. a timeline shift. That we all remember one version of reality, but we now live in another. Like waking up in a room that looks like yours, but the windows faces the wrong direction. This is where it begins. With a death that didn't happen, a memory that shouldn't exist, and a question that echoes louder than any answer. What else is different? You're walking through a grocery store. Nothing unusual, just the cereal aisle, candy, toothpaste. But something's off. You look at the fruit of the Loom logo. Where's the cornucopia? You've seen it your whole life, a woven basket spilling fruit. Except there was never a cornucopia. Ever. Look it up. It doesn't exist. Officially, it never did. Yet millions remember it. And that's just the beginning. How do you spell Looney Tunes? T-O-O-N-S? Wrong. It's T-U-N-E-S. Tunes, like music. Not toons, like cartoons. But the characters were cartoons. You remember the old logo, the swirling logo, the music, the text. You're sure of it. Except it never said tunes. And it gets weirder. Fibris? One E, not Fibris. Kit Kat? No hyphen. Fruit Loops? Actually spelled Fruit Loops. Monopoly Man? No monocle. Wait, what? You remember him with one. Top hat, mustache, cane, monocle, right? Apparently not. Official artwork, vintage boxes, no monocle. But here's the thing. Some people found old fan art, decades old, that shows the monocle. Even hand-drawn school arts from the 90s. So how did people draw something that never existed? Some blame faulty memory, that logos change and we just don't notice. But we do notice. The Berenstein Bears? Nope, it's Berenstein. A-I-N. People have books that say Berenstein. Family videos labeled by hand. But the publishers say it's always been Berenstein. And no one changed it. So, who did? We are not just talking about a typo. We are talking about reality changing around you, while your memories stayed the same, like your brain was updated late. Some believe these aren't glitches. They are markers. Little tears in reality that slip past unnoticed, unless you are paying attention. And once you start seeing them, you can't unsee them. The weirdest part about the Mandela Effect isn't what's changed. It's the feeling that something shifted and you were never told. That somehow, somewhere, something quietly nudged our timeline. And we just kept going. But some people noticed. They describe it like waking up in a room that looks exactly the same. But isn't. The photos on the wall are different. Your friend remembers a trip you never took. The map has changed. Yes, the map. Have you ever looked at the world map lately? Some say New Zealand is in the wrong spot. Others say Sri Lanka used to be further south. Some swear South Africa was directly under North Africa, not offset to the east. They aren't guessing, they are confident. Even angry. Then there's the human body. Thousands of people, medical professionals included, claim organs have moved. Wait, the heart's not in the center anymore. Kidneys used to be lower. There wasn't a bone behind the eyes before. Science says it's always been that way. So why do so many people remember otherwise? There are two theories. One is terrifying. The other is worse. Theory 1. The simulation. That we are living in a digital construct. Reality is software, and glitches happen. Maybe someone tried to patch a line of code and overwrote the wrong variable. Boom! Bernstein becomes Bernstein. Fruit baskets erase cornucopias. Maps shift slightly to the left. We notice because the old memory file lingers. Theory 2. Multiverse drift. There are countless timelines, millions of Earths. And at some point, something caused a shift. You moved, without meaning to, without knowing. You're not from this reality. You just woke up here. And this world looks almost the same, but not quite. And maybe that's why your memories don't match. Because they are not wrong, they are from somewhere else. If the Mandela Effect is real, if it's not just a bad memory or brain tricks, then here's the question no one wants to ask. Why now? Why are we only noticing these changes in the last 10 to 15 years? Some say it's because we've never paid this much attention. The internet gave us collective memory, a hive mind. When one person notices a glitch, thousands more validate it. But others think we weren't meant to notice, that these glitches are leaks, side effects of something breaking or being tested. Look closer. In 2012, something strange happened. It wasn't the end of the world. But maybe it was the end of a version of it. Some theories believe CERN, the particle collider in Switzerland, did more than discover the Higgs boson. They say it may have punched a hole in our reality, or even collapsed one and moved us to another. And every Mandela Effect since, residual static, all data bleeding into the new timeline. There are forum users, now gone, who claimed to dream in old versions of the world. One described dreaming of the Bernstein Bears every night for a year. In the dream, they spelled it right. They said it right. And the books on his shelf had the old logo. But when he'd wake up, it was gone again. Others report seeing symbols they don't understand. Patterns that appear in static in reflection in the corners of their vision. Always glitching. Always out of reach. As if something is trying to contact us. Or worse, warn us. Maybe the Mandela Effect isn't an accident. Maybe it's a test pattern. To see who's noticing, who's still waking up. Because if the past can be changed, so can the present. And if enough of us remember the truth, maybe the shift can't hold. There's a theory no one wants to think about. That this isn't the first shift. That it's just the first one we noticed. How many timelines have we lost? How many versions of ourselves have forgotten? We cling to memories, children's books, cereal boxes, movie quotes, because deep down they are anchors to a world that made sense, to a reality we trusted. But the world has changed. We say, that's not how I remember it. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the change isn't the error. Maybe we are. You look at the globe and feel unease. You hear a line from a movie, wrong, jarring, unfamiliar. You swear the logo used to look different. And someone tells you you are imagining it. But you know better. You are not imagining it. You are remembering something the world forgot. That's the Mandela Effect. A crack in the glass of reality. And when you press your fingers against it, you feel it pulse. Because something's on the other side. Something watching, measuring, learning, and maybe testing how long it will take us to forget the truth, or how long we will fight to remember it. So ask yourself, what do you know you saw? What do you know you lived? What do you know is real? Because one day you will wake up and it won't be. And everyone will tell you it never was. And just like that, the mystery deepens. Is it false memory or proof of another universe? Comment below. In 2009, the internet birthed a faceless figure hidden in the shadows of grainy photos. What started as a joke became a chilling legend whispered in nightmares. This is the haunting mystery called Slenderman. The first time you notice him, you don't. He's a smudge at the tree line, a taller than possible blur that your eyes file under branch. Then you see him again, in an old photo behind children on swings, where no one remembers a man standing. You blink, zoom, crop. The figure remains, faceless and pale, a hole punched through the human pattern. On forums lit by midnight monitors, he gathers shape. Posts become sightings, sightings become proofs, proofs become rules whispered like playground dares. He watches, he waits. Don't look back, don't run. Kids swap drawings in crayon. Long arms, black suit, no face. And teachers call it a face until the sketches multiply. He is the rumor the woods taught the web to speak. Ask 3 people where he came from and you will hear 4 answers. A prank that learned to breathe. A spirit that needs our attention to feed. A modern tulpa built from fear and bad with. Something older dressed in newer clothes. You promise yourself it's fiction. Then your window reflects a room with one shape too many. We tell ourselves monsters need eyes to see us. He doesn't. We tell ourselves names protect us. His name is not a name. It's a direction our gaze can't hold. Step outside. Feel how the air thickens at the edge of the yard. as if the night is leaning in to listen. If you stand where the porch light dies, the forest looks back like a face without features. Only height, only hush, only the sense that you have already been noticed. That's how Slenderman arrives. Not with a footstep, but with a correction in what you believe is possible. It began not in the forest, but on a forum. June 2009, the Something Awful Photoshop contest. Users were told to make paranormal images that felt real. One user, Eric Knudsen, under the name Victor Search, uploaded 2 black and white photos of children. Behind them, a stretched figure in a black suit, featureless, standing motionless in the background. The captions read, "We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them." And one of 2 recovered photographs from the Stirling City Library plays. Date unknown. A joke, that's all it was. But the internet had already changed the rules of myth-making. Within days, other users added new photos, new stories, new eyewitnesses. Slenderman stopped being a post and became a shared hallucination. A creature whose existence was crowdsourced. On creepypasta forums, stories multiplied like spores. Each retelling changed small things. Tentacles here, telepathic whispers there. But the silhouette stayed the same. The absence of a face, the shape of fear itself. People began seeing him where there was only static, hearing them when their recordings glitched. Then came Marble Hornets, a YouTube series that blurred fiction and reality. Home video style, grainy, quiet. A student filming a project gone wrong, chased by something tall in the woods. It wasn't labeled as fiction. It didn't need to be. The audience filled the blanks. Slenderman had crossed the screen. He no longer belonged to his creature. He belonged to everyone who stared too long into the dark of their monitor and thought they saw motion. By the end of that summer, he was everywhere. Fan art, forum signatures, roleplay threads, deep web chat rooms. 1 million storytellers, one faceless witness. And so, from code and fear and loneliness, something digital began to feel alive. By 2014, the story had grown teeth. It was no longer confined to screens and sketches. Somewhere in Waukesha, Wisconsin, 2 12-year-old girls whispered the legend-like scripture. They believed the Slenderman was real, and that he demanded a sacrifice. On a quiet morning, they lured their friend into the woods. The trees stood still, as if listening. Then came the knife. 19 times. She lived. Barely. When police caught the 2 girls hours later, they were calm, almost relieved. They said they did it to become proxies for Slenderman, that he would take them to his mansion in the forest, that he would protect their families if they obeyed. The world gasped. What had been born in pixels had spilled into flesh. The line between myth and memory snapped. People demanded answers. How could a fake monster make real people bleed? Was this mental illness, or had something darker passed through the cracks of belief itself? Psychologists said it was shared delusion, mass suggestion amplified by internet isolation. But the whispers online told another story, that the girls were simply the first to listen. The Slenderman had found a way out, one imagination at a time. In the aftermath, parents banned forums, schools blocked sites, but the damage was done. Slenderman was no longer a story you could scroll past. He had entered the modern folklore cycle, half cautionary tale, half mirror. Every generation has its myth. The internet was wearing a suit. They called it the slender sickness. Headaches, static, the sense of being watched through screens or trees. Every flicker of light in the corner became suspect. People online began reporting dreams, the same dream, a faceless man standing just beyond the reach of lamplight, arms slightly open, waiting. Psychologists labeled it pareidolia, our minds inventing patterns. But believers said something else. The Slenderman is a tulpa, a being created through thought and fear, feeding on attention. The more people searched for him, drew him, mentioned him, the strongest he became. It was a haunting updated for the digital age. Ghosts no longer needed graveyards, only Wi-Fi. The internet had burst its first supernatural virus, one passed not by blood, but by curiosity. Videos began appearing online, footage of forests distorted by glitching static. Anonymous users claimed the clips were proof. Others said they could see his shape hidden in data, like a curse within pixels. People stopped going into the woods alone. Some even stopped sleeping near their windows. Slenderman had become an idea that infected fear itself, a story that refused to stay still. You couldn't touch him. You couldn't prove him. But when you thought you saw something tall just behind your reflection, you didn't breathe until you looked away. He is not a monster in the forest anymore. He is the forest. He is the stillness before your screen turns off, the blank white glow that lingers after a page loads. The more we say his name, the more he listens. Now the myth lives quietly, disguised as nostalgia. New generations discover him on YouTube compilations and top 10 urban legends videos. But every few months, a post appears on Reddit or TikTok. Look closely. He's there. A figure behind a fence, a silhouette between trees, a shadow in the reflection of a bedroom window. The fear has evolved. He doesn't need believers anymore, only viewers. Every click, every pause on an image is another heartbeat in the dark. People claim their devices glitch when they search his name for too long. Files distort, photos smear. Text breaks apart into binary gibberish. Some call it superstition, others call it digital haunting. The internet remembering its first ghost. In this new age, Slenderman has become more than a character. He's a symbol of loneliness, of our hunger for stories that make us feel seen, even when the thing seeing us is faceless. Maybe he was never meant to scare children, but to remind us how easily imagination can turn into faith, and faith into fear. So we close our laptops, pretending we are safe, but the dark reflection on the screen still lingers a second too long. The shadow doesn't fade with the monitor. It waits, somewhere in the static between frames. And when the night feels too quiet, we look over our shoulders, half smiling, because part of us still wants him to be real. The Slenderman myth began as a joke, a Photoshop contest thread on June 10th, 2009. But 15 years later, the laughter has faded, replaced by something colder. It no longer belongs to one creator or community. It belongs to the web itself. The first ghost born from code. In every era, fear finds a mask. Ours found a suit and a tie. We thought we made him up, but maybe myths make us. Maybe they rise whenever people stare too long into the dark, waiting for something to stare back. The real horror isn't that Slenderman might exist. It's that we needed him to. A reminder that the line between fiction and faith is thinner than pixels, and the stories once told never truly die. So when the static hums, when the lights flicker and the screen turns black, remember who's waiting on the other side of the signal. And just like that, the mystery deepens. What if the internet didn't create Slenderman, it remembered him? Comment below. 2011, Nantes, France. A quiet aristocrat's home hides something unspeakable beneath the floor. A family vanishes, leaving only silence, letters, and one missing father. This is the haunting mystery called the French Aristocrat. April 2011, Nantes, France. A quiet street lined with pale townhouses, where nothing ever happens. Behind one of those facades lives the Dupont de Ligans family. 5 souls and a name that whispers of nobility. Xavier, the father, is elegant, polite, almost too composed. A man of lineage and secrets. His wife, Agnes, is devoted, religious, and wary. 4 children, laughter in the garden, dinners at 8 sharp. A portrait of order. Then, one spring week, the laughter stops. Neighbors notice the curtains drawn, mail piling up, and the family dog silent. Xavier's car vanishes from the driveway. At first, it feels like a vacation, until letters arrive, typed, signed by Xavier, claiming the family has moved to America to join a secret government program. He says they are safe, but must cut all contacts. He even sprinkles details: military protection, undercover lives. Just enough to sound almost believable. Almost. Days pass, then weeks. The house remained locked, blinds sealed. And beneath the wooden deck, someone smells something. Police arrive, dig through soil and cement. What they uncover freezes France. The bodies of Agnes, the children, and the family's 2 dogs, carefully wrapped, buried in layers. All shot, all arranged, all loved. But Xavier, gone. No trace, no body, no confirmed sighting. Only his final message, a letter to his family's relatives, claiming, "We must disappear. You will never see us again." The hunt begins, a nobleman turned ghost. The morning after the bodies were found, France woke to a name that felt too refined for a crime so brutal. Xavier Dupont de Ligence. A man from old money, educated, soft-spoken, the kind of person who dines with businessmen and speaks about faith and family. But police soon discovered another life behind the polished mask. Xavier's company was failing, his bank accounts drained. His emails revealed desperation, promises to investigators, apologies to creditors, cryptic notes about an inevitable end. In the weeks before the murders, he bought a silencer, bullets, and shovels. He took his children shooting for practice. He dined with them, smiled, and paid the bill. He even mailed family photos to relatives, as if to freeze their final happy moments in time. After the killings, his trail led south. Surveillance cameras caught him driving calmly through France, from Nantes to the Mediterranean. No disguise, no rush, just a man taking his time. At each stop, he used his credit card to buy cheap hotel rooms, meals for one, and cash withdrawals, as though marking breadcrumbs. On April 15th, he was seen checking into a small hotel in Racquebrun-sur-Argens, near the sea. The next morning, his car sat abandoned in the parking lot. Inside his room, a Bible, clothes folded neatly, and his wallet. Outside, nothing but a rocky path that leads into the wilderness. When investigators entered the family's home, they expected chaos. Instead, they found perfection. Beds made, dishes washed, crosses placed gently on each victim's body. It was a burial done with care, almost ritualistic. Every window sealed, every surface wiped. No fingerprints, no blood spatter, nothing spontaneous. It felt rehearsed. They found letters addressed to family members and friends, typed, formal, eerie, polite. Xavier wrote that the family had moved to America under witness protection, involved in a secret anti-drug operation with the US government. He even described their new house, their cover identities. Complete fiction. But to those who knew him, It read like the calm delusion of a man convinced he was saving his family from something unseen. Forensics uncovered silencer marks on bullets matching Xavier's rifle. The dates matched his purchase history. Everything pointed at him, and yet his absence gave birth to doubt. Could someone else have staged all this? Was he murdered and buried elsewhere? Over the years, hundreds of sightings came in. Xavier in a monastery, Xavier in Argentina, Xavier in Scotland, but none confirmed. A corpse found in 2015, not him. An arrest in 2019, wrong man. Every lead collapsed, feeding the legend instead of solving it. Today the house in Nantes stands rebuilt, its past hidden beneath fresh paint and silence. But those who walk by at night swear the air still feels heavier there, as if the ground remembers what it's hiding. More than a decade later, the case remains open, unsolved, unending. Every few months, a photo surfaces. A tall man in a cafe, a birdie traveler on a beach. Always maybe Xavier, always almost him. Each new lead fades like a ghost sighting, blurry, uncertain, impossible to prove. For investigators, he's a phantom defined not by what he did, but by what he left behind. For the public, he became something more, a modern legend, half truth, half nightmare. A reminder that even in the age of surveillance and data, one man can still vanish completely. No confirmed death, no confirmed life. Just the silence of a name that friends will never forget. Perhaps he's buried beneath another false identity, or perhaps, as some whisper, he watches his own story unfold on screen, smiling in the shadows. The nobleman who mastered disappearance. And just like that, the mystery deepens. What if he's still out there, watching his own legend unfold? Comment below.
In 1959, 9 hikers vanished in Russia's Frunze Ural Mountains. When rescuers found their camp, it was ripped open from the inside, bodies scattered across the snow in terrifying conditions. Strange injuries, missing eyes, unexplained lights in the sky, all buried in silence. This is the chilling, unsolved mystery called the Dyatlov Pass incident. This tale doesn't begin with monsters or ghosts. It begins with ambitious students, youthful laughter, and the thrilling spirit of adventure. They were some of the best and brightest, physically strong, mentally sharp, and prepared for everything the brutal Russian winter could throw at them. But what happened during those final, Frunze hours would defy logic, science, and even imagination. When rescuers finally found their abandoned tent, they were met with a chilling scene. The tent had been slashed open from the inside. Their foot tracks led into the darkness of a blizzard. Bodies scattered across the mountainside, some half-dressed, others mutilated in ways that defied nature. No sign of external attack, no survivors, no clear explanation. And so, the nightmare of Dyatlov Pass was born, a story tangled in secrets, fear, conspiracy, and the terrifying unknown. The leader of the expedition was Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student known for his meticulous planning and leadership skills. Dyatlov was the glue that held the team together, a quiet but confident figure who inspired trust. He designed and built his own radio equipment, organized previous tracks, and dreamed of creating a new hiking route through the Ural Mountains. His team was made up of 8 others, each exceptional in their own right. Zinaida Komogorova, 22 years old, was strong-willed, friendly, and fearless. She had survived a previous bear attack during a different expedition. Lyudmila Dubanina, just 20, was known for her tenacity and for speaking her mind. A survivor of grueling hikes, she had once completed a long trek with an injured knee. Yuri Doroshenko, 21, was remembered for his immense courage. He once fended off a bear with nothing more than a branch and raw determination. Alexander Kolevatov, 24, was studying nuclear physics and was described by friends as secretive but brilliant. Rustam Slobodin, 23, an accomplished athlete and long-distance runner, had a quiet, meditative nature. Nikolai Thibault-Brignoles, 23, was lively, upbeat, and of partial French descent, bringing humor to cold, grim journeys. Semyon Zolotaryov, 38, the oldest and most mysterious member, a decorated veteran of World War II. Zolotaryov had military experience that made him both an asset and an enigma to the younger students. And finally, there was Yuri Yudin, who would be the group's unexpected survivor. Yudin suffered from chronic health issues, including rheumatism and a heart condition. Early in the expedition, he was forced to turn back due to unbearable joint pain. He would later say that this fateful retreat saved his life and cost him a lifetime of guilt and questions. The expedition was designed to meet the requirements for the Soviet Union's Grade III certification, the highest certification for hikers at the time. It required traversing hundreds of kilometers in extreme winter conditions. They were well prepared, carrying specialized clothing, skiing gear, tents, journals, and cameras. Nothing in their experience or equipment hinted at the horror that awaited them. They were smart. They were strong. They were ready. Or so it seemed. On January 23, 1959, the group boarded a packed train heading north, leaving behind the city of Sverdlovsk. As the train rattled through snow-covered villages and abandoned outposts, the hikers' spirits were high. They played music, sang songs, wrote in their diaries, and took down scenes of photographs. In their own words, they called themselves the Dyatlov Group, confident and proud. After 2 days of travel, they reached Ivdel, a small town barely more than a scattering of wooden houses and dirt roads buried under feet of snow. From there, they hitched a ride on a lumber truck to the even smaller outpost of Vizai, the last inhabited settlement before the true wilderness. In Vizai, they bought supplies, wrote final postcards to family and friends, and gathered their strength. The words on those postcards were cheerful, almost casual. Everything is fine. Don't worry about us. The hike is going well. The weather is good. No one could have guessed they were writing from the edge of oblivion. On January 27, 1959, the hikers strapped on their skis and headed north into the deepening snowdrifts, pulling heavy sleds loaded with food, clothing, tents, and tools. At first, the journey was uneventful. The group moved as a tight unit, skiing across frowning rivers, through skeletal forests of birch and pine. Nights were spent huddled in their large, shared tent. They kept journals, cracking jokes about the brutal cold and each other's clumsiness. Igor Dyatlov carefully mapped their progress, noting changes in elevation, wind speed, and snow conditions. But the weather began to turn. Temperatures plummeted to -30 degrees Celsius. Winds howled down from the peaks like the cries of some ancient predator. Visibility dropped. Snow fell endlessly, and yet they pushed on, determined to complete their route and to make history. On January 31st, the team reached the edge of a steep slope known as Klitsyakl, the Mountain of the Dead. By then, they were exhausted, disoriented, and nearly blind in the whiteout conditions. Instead of descending into a forested valley nearby a safer, more protected location, they chose to set up camp directly on the exposed slope. No one knows why. Maybe it was a navigational error. Maybe it was Dyatlov's decision, unwilling to lose the hard-won altitude. Maybe it was pride. Whatever the reason, they made their final camp there, on the mountainside, beneath a pale and pitiless moon. They had only one more day of hiking ahead before reaching their destination. But they would never get there. February 1st, 1959. As night fell, the Dyatlov group huddled inside their tent, battered by freezing winds that screamed down the mountainside. Outside, the snow fell relentlessly, burying the slopes, turning everything into a white, formless nightmare. At some point during the night, something unimaginable happened. Something that caused 9 highly experienced, rational hikers to panic so severely that they slashed open their only shelter from the inside and fled into a deathly blizzard, without shoes, coats, or basic protection. Rescuers later discovered the tent. It had been violently cut open from within, not through the door. The hikers left footprints leading downhill, slowly at first, walking, not running. Some wore only socks. Others had bare feet. A few grabbed pieces of clothing in panic but were still woefully underdressed. Following the footprints, search teams found the bodies in increasingly bizarre conditions. 2 were found near the tree line, by the remains of a fire, wearing only underwear. 3 others were discovered between the tree line and the tent, as if they had treed and failed to crawl back. The last 4 were found later, buried under snow in a ravine, nearly 70 meters deeper into the forest. Their injuries were horrific. One had a crushed skull, with fractures so severe, they were likened to the impact of a car crash. 2 had shattered ribs, with internal bleeding but no external bruises. One woman was missing her tongue, eyes, limbs, and part of her facial tissue. Strangely, despite the violence of their injuries, no external wounds were found. No defensive injuries. No bruising that would suggest an attack by another person or an animal. What kind of force could do this? Why were some bodies radiated? Why was there no sign of struggle at the camp? The scene defied explanation, and it chilled everyone who came near it. In the aftermath of the Dyatlov Pass tragedy, investigators scrambled to make sense of the evidence. But the deeper they looked, the stranger the case became. First came the avalanche theory. According to some officials, a sudden snow slide forced the group to evacuate the tent in terror. But critics quickly dismantled this idea. The slope angle was too shallow for a real avalanche. The tent was still standing when rescuers found it. No heavy snow deposits were discovered over the site. The injuries didn't match those of typical avalanche victims. If not an avalanche, then what? Military involvement was another theory. At the time, secret Soviet weapons tests were being conducted in remote areas. Some believe the hikers stumbled into a classified military operation, perhaps exposed to parachute mines or experimental sonic weapons. The radiation found on some of the clothing fueled this speculation. Strange lights reported in the sky over the Ural Mountains that night bright, glowing orbs moving silently added further mystery. Witnesses described these orbs as orange or bluish balls, sometimes hovering, sometimes darting away at unnatural speeds. Were the hikers accidental witnesses to something they should never have seen? Others propose a paranormal explanation. The Mansi people, indigenous to the region, consider the area sacred and forbidden. Legends tell of mysterious, giant forest beings who protected the mountains. Some speculate that the Dyatlov group encountered something primal, something territorial. Photographs recovered from the hikers' cameras show blurry, humanoid shapes lurking in the background of snow-laden trees. Artifacts, camera glitches, or silent witnesses to an encounter gone horribly wrong. Even more bizarre theories emerged. Infrasound, a rare weather phenomenon that produces a low-frequency sound capable of inducing panic attacks in humans. UFO encounters, visitors from beyond the stars, interdimensional rifts, portals opening between realities. Each theory explains some part of the evidence. None explained everything. The Soviet government, eager to avoid embarrassment or unrest, quickly closed the investigation, ruling the cause of death as an unknown compelling force. No follow-up, no accountability, no closure, only whispers and speculation, and silence. Today, Dyatlov Pass remains a place of chilling fascination. Hikers, scientists, conspiracy theorists, and adventurers still journey to the site, retracing the doomed expedition's final steps. A small memorial stone stands near the tree line, bearing the names of the 9 hikers who perished so mysteriously. But even after decades of research, speculation, and reopening of investigations, no universally accepted explanation has been found. In 2019, the Russian government once again concluded that an avalanche was to blame. Few outside official circles were convinced. Too many questions remain. Why would seasoned hikers flee in an orderly but desperate fashion into the night? Why were some crushed with impossible force, yet barely bruised externally? Why was there radiation? Why were files classified for decades, and some still missing? Why was there such silence from the authorities? The Dyatlov Pass incident stands as a sobering reminder that even in an age dominated by logic and science, some corners of the world remain dark, wild, and unknowable. Maybe the hikers saw something they weren't meant to. Maybe they heard something that can't be explained. Maybe they simply made a terrible mistake in a moment of panic. Or maybe, just maybe, the mountain itself took them. Their footprints, once etched into the snow, have long since vanished. But their story remains, a whisper on the wind, a shadow among the trees, a mystery that will never die. And just like that, the mystery deepens. What do you think really happened? Share your theories in the comments. If you enjoyed unraveling this puzzle, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because trust me, the next mystery might just be even stranger. And if you're still craving answers, don't stop here. Check out the other mysteries on the channel. Each one will pull you deeper down the rabbit hole. Until next time, stay curious.